After the collapse of the Bronze Age, it's almost as if the world started over again. The Etruscans populated Italy and brought with them the culture from the east, from Asia Minor and Greece. And while Rome is still a baby, it is surrounded by Sabines, Umbrians, Samnites, as well as Etruscans and Phoenician settlers. Rome is heavily influenced by the Etruscan religion. The Etruscan religion can be traced back to the Villanovan culture, directly post-Bronze Age culture of Italy. Gods and goddesses such as Mater Matuta, an indigenous Latin goddess who the Romans eventually made equivalent to the dawn, or Eos in Greek. Other major gods of the Italians and the Romans are Fortuna, Simon Sancus. Native original gods of the Italians, you also have what's called the Archaic Triad, made up of Jupiter, Mars, and Quirinus. Quirinus is also identified later with Romulus. This triad, though, would end up being replaced by the Capitoline Triad of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. They also had a pantheon of 12 gods, known as the Dei Consentis, which consisted of Juno, Vesta, Minerva, Ceres, Diana, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Neptune, Vulcan, and Apollo. Apollo in the Etruscan religion is known as Epulu, which shows us how ancient Apollo really is, because Apollo is known throughout the entire Mediterranean world in some way, shape, or another. When Parmenides and the Phocians came from Turkey to southern Italy, they brought Apollo worship there as well. The Greeks also worshipped Apollo at Delphi and other locations. There's an ancient custom known as Mos Majorum, ancestral custom, or the way of the ancestors, is an unwritten code in which the ancient Romans derived their social norms from. They also have what's known as the 12 Tables, which was formally promulgated in 449 BCE. In the Forum, the 12 Tables stated the rights and duties of the Roman citizen. The highest known ranking priest is known as the Rex Sacrorum, or the King of the Sacred Things. He was chosen by the Pontifex Maximus from a list of patricians submitted by a college of pontiffs. That sounds like the Pontifex Maximus has more power than him. However, he didn't actually have that much power. He was known as the fifth highest ranking priest under Rex Sacrorum, as I mentioned. Also the Flamen Dialis, which is the high priest of Jupiter, the Flamen Martialis, the high priest of Mars, and the Flamen Coronalis, high priest of Quirinus. The priesthood of Mars, though, had an opposite priesthood known as the Salii of leaping priests, and they were chosen 12 young pre-adolescent boys who would serve term for 4 years and then be replaced by another young boy. There was also different priest functions. For example, the Haruspex, which checked the entrails of sacrifice victims for portents and prophecies, and the Augurs would check for birds flying in the sky for prophecies as well. With that being said, the women joined the Vestal Virgins, which was a college of priestesses during the time of Augustus, and they would have a term of 30 years of celibacy. And after which their 30-year term was up, the Pontifex Maximus would then strategically marry them to different kings or governors in certain parts of the Roman Empire. Every governor or king wanted to marry one of these Vestal Virgins because they brought with them a salary. The job of the Vestal Virgins was to read the sacred books of the Sibyl. One of the other more important priesthoods of ancient Rome was known as the Quindecimviri Sacris Facundis, which was a priesthood of 15 members of a college who also, like the Vestal virgins, had to guard the Sabine books. The Sabine books in this video you will see is the most important thing in Roman religion of all time. You will see how the Sabine books affect Roman religion from the time of the Etruscans down up until the time of Christianity. The only thread that stays there is the Sabine books. But before I get to that, let's look at the world that the Romans were a part of. Over in Greece, there is 4 major religious parts of the pagan world. Number 1, Zeus at Dodona, where the oracle of Zeus was staying. People flocked from all over the Mediterranean world to go and speak to the oracle of Zeus. You also have Artemis at Ephesus. Once again, people would flock from all over the Mediterranean world to see the goddess Artemis at Ephesus. Next, you have Delphi. The oracle at Delphi of Apollo was the most famous oracle in the entire world at the time. And finally, the Eleusinian Mysteries is where everybody wanted to be initiated because the Eleusinian Mysteries promised salvation and eternal life. The Eleusinian Mysteries was centered around Demeter and Bacchus and the daughter Persephone. You also have down in Egypt religion of Isis, Osiris, and Ra. The oracle of Ammon in the desert at Siwa was super ancient and famous. In fact, Alexander the Great himself visited this oracle and was told that he would conquer the world and that he was the Son of God. When Alexander the Great conquered the East, upon his death, the empire divided up into his generals. After the dust settled between the wars of these generals, you basically have Lysimachus in control of Thrace and Asia Minor. You have Ptolemy in control of Egypt, and then you have Seleucus in control of Syria and Persia. Over in Greece, Cassander was succeeded by Philip IV of Macedonia. Cassander's son Alexander V of Macedon was ousted from power, and Greece was split up between Pyrrhus and Epirus and Demetrius I, son of Antigonus the One-Eyed. What followed from this is the rise of Rome and the decline of Macedonia. To make a long story short, Pyrrhus tried to invade Italy and failed. He did win the war, but it's called a Pyrrhic victory, which is named after him because the win was so catastrophic that you might as well just call it a loss at this point. There was no long-term success having been done. In fact, Rome just got stronger from it. But Greek ideals did start to spread in Italy at this time. And Hellenism is now becoming part of Roman religion.